available, and we extract some data on that, like index or anomaly. Before going back to the Earth observation part, more about the principle of IBISA. So as I said, IBISA is a B2B solution that is built on local partners. The local partners are the ones that run the mutual, they collect the contribution, and they pay the benefit. And in order to make it more efficient and more resilient, we can use mobile money payment, micropayment. Once the farmers have contributed and are onboarded into the system, every month we will extract the satellite data base of the crop covered. Those satellite data will be assessed by people we call watchers. I will come back to this after. And those watchers will assess if there is a loss or not, and what is the level of loss. If there is a loss, they will log it into the automated back office, and this automated back office will trigger a payment from the local partner. Thanks to what I've described before, we can offer a protection that is affordable for farmers. And this protection is also easy because there is no need to fill a claim file, as I say. Because of this automatic remote assessment, they don't need to fill anything, and it allows fast payment and in-season payment. This in-season payment is important for them because it allows them to put in place mitigation action during the season and not wait until the end. Regarding affordability, thanks to the use of those two technologies, we can offer a solution with 20% of fee. I remind you that the traditional insurance you and I use for our car or our flat, we have 25 to 30% of fee. And in crop microinsurance, some products have up to 70% of fee. So only 30% of the money is used to cover the cost, the risk. Here we have 80% of the money that is used to cover the risk. A bit more about this crowd watching I just described before. What we do is that we use all Earth observation data available from multiple satellites, from multiple data providers, and we put it in the platform, and then we use crowdsourcing. So we ask multiple people to assess those data and to assess the loss of the plots or the groups. We will see that just after. They will collectively vote, or let's say decide on a level that will be the input of the process we just see before, and they will be rewarded with reputation token based on the quality of their answer. What I just say is that we don't assess plots one by one, but we assess them by groups of 2 by 2 kilometers, something like that. So it's like village scale. We do that for two main reasons. First is that satellite data are not always as good a resolution as this one. And the second is to avoid moral hazard. Because if you are a farmer and you are assessed like your neighbors, you don't have any interest to try to cheat the system, because anyway, if you abandon your field, your neighbor will not, and you will be assessed like your neighbor. So we are currently mainly deployed in two countries. The first one is India. So we are deployed in India with Dan People Mutual. It's a local mutual that have 2 million members today. We are deploying with them since 1 year with paying customers, and we plan to arrive to 5,000 farmers this year with them in India. The other partner we have is RBM in Niger. So it's also co-financed by the government of Luxembourg. And here it's an association of pastoralists all over West Africa. We also have a technical and financial partnership. The first one, in terms of size and in terms of history, is with the European Space Agency. So they support us, of course, because of our work on the Earth observation research. Second is the Luxembourg government, as I just said, they co-finance our deployment in Niger. And last but not least is Consensus, because, so Consensus, you know, here is the only place I think where I don't have to present them. And we were part of the Tachyon program last year. The last point, of course, like every project, is mainly made by people. So we have a complementary team with different type of knowledge, insurance, blockchain, and space, mainly Earth observation, space, satellites, banking, inclusive insurance, all those topics that are making IBISA. And that's all. I promise you that it will be short. So I take my promise. But if you have any question, of course, feel free to ask.
Are you working on AI model to extract some insight from the data directly and put it directly on the blockchain?
Yeah, so that's a good question. That's the idea of, I will rephrase your question a bit differently, is why we choose watchers, crowd watching, and not something else. For us, there is 3 ways to be the oracle, let's say, in blockchain sense. The first one is traditional insurance, is to have an in-house expert. So the in-house expert will take all the image and assess on behalf of the company. So first, it's centralized. And second, it's not scalable at all, because if you double the number of farmers, then the expert explodes. The other solution is indeed to automate that with machine learning, algorithm, and things like that. To our point of view, it's not that scalable, because you will need to retrain your model in every region you deploy. It's not that resilient also, because you can have whatever kind of problem in the data, clouds or whatever other kind of problem, and if you did not train your model to detect those kind of problem, then it will not manage it correctly. And last is it's still somehow centralized, because you will need to execute the machine learning algorithm. So that's why we went to this crowd watching solution, because it's decentralized, it's scalable, and it's resilient. At least that's the bet of the company. But also, in your question, also, if you are, for example, an AI expert, you can become a watcher and ask your algorithm to assess. So also, we are making a sort of market where if people think that they can automate it in a clever way, they can do it, and they can earn reputation token. Yes.
So who can be a watcher?
So that's also a very good question. So until now, it was more Earth observation expert, because we are doing the watcher since 1 year, since the beginning of the deployment in India. So at the beginning, it was more Earth observation expert or knowledgeable people, because they help us to build the platform and to build the content of the platform. What kind of image we show, what kind of index, because you can compute a lot of things on satellite image. So we co-construct the platform with them. But now we are opening it more and more to not Earth observation knowledgeable people, but people that just need sort of training to say, okay, this is the type of data you need to look at, and etc. And the idea is that the watchers can be anyone that just have time and energy to put in that.
How expensive are these Earth observation services? And is Earth observation enough to assess the state of a crop?
So there is 2 questions here. First, the Earth observation image, mainly they are available for free. they are put at the disposal of the community of the world by the NASA and European Space Agency mainly. So the only things you have to pay is the technological stack to have an API to request the data you want at the time you want. So that's cheap, I mean, when you compare it to the cost of the rest. So that's very marginal cost. And the second question was, okay, what can we assess? So indeed, we cannot assess everything from space. This is what I say. I say if you have a caterpillar that will eat the maize, the fruit of the plant, that I cannot see from space. But what we see well from space is drought and also excess rain. That we can see it well because it's also in a whole region. It's not only in one field. And that's why also it don't make sense to assess plot by plot. So that's why when I say that IBISA is covering crop, it's wrong. The reality is that IBISA is covering drought. So today we are explaining in India, we are deploying saying IBISA is covering drought.
Last question. Do you have some company who are willing to share with you images but have concern about privacy? So they don't want to give access to their data to anybody, just for your services?
The Earth observation data, you mean? To be honest, we don't have. You have private companies that sell their data, but mainly when they do that, it's because it's really accurate data. I mean, with high resolution. As I say, we don't need that anyway because we assess in a 2 by 2 kilometer zone. So it's better for us to use the NASA or the ESA satellite because first there is a lot of scientific literature about it. So we have a lot of feedback that it's working well and it's well calibrated and everything. So clearly there is no need for us to go to private satellite data. Rather than, to complement, rather than private satellite data, what we use sometimes is more sophisticated data compute based on free data. Because on the free data available, if you mix them correctly, you have, again, a lot of scientific literature on how to compute a drought model, drought modeling and things like that. So that's more something that is interesting for us than really a 5-meter resolution image. Okay.
And I have the right to ask questions too. No, I was just like wondering, maybe I missed something, but do you have like today with those farmers, do you have like any relationship? I didn't get if you already have something like running or you're planning to, or what are you?
No, yeah, so we are running since 1 year in India with paying customers. So we have currently 300 farmers covered in the platform. And as I say, so they are onboarded by our local partner. That is the one who go in the field because we are not B2C because we don't speak their language, we don't have their culture, we are not in this in situ, so that's very complex. So that's why we rely on our local partner to go in the field to onboard. So we have an Android apps, they can onboard them directly in the field, and when they come back home with the internet in synchronize and etc. So they are doing all the management, the last mile, and we are doing really the loss assessment and the back office of the insurance, and they are doing the distribution. Okay, I promise you that it will be short. Thank you. Yes, of course.
Yeah, I'm actually interested. Thank you. Ouais.
Ah, l'exécution pour dire, regardez, le traitement il est fait de la manière à faire, etc. Du coup, je pense que c'est intéressant de regarder si un jour vous posez ce genre de questions. S'il y a de la donnée, nous, on fait manipuler de la donnée privée.